In the article, Chad covers some of the key changes to the standards as well as strategies for making the transition. Chad is with us this morning on the phone to talk to us about some of those changes. Hi, Chad.
Hey, hi, Dirk. Hi, Mike and Dirk. How are you?
Oh, pretty good.
Thanks, Chad.
So, just right up front, what are the important deadlines? We mentioned when there's the kind of the drop dead deadline, which is in September 2018. But what are some of the other important deadlines that people need to mark on their calendars for that transition?
Dirk, thinking about September, they should actually add 4 months before that. So typically what happens is there's about a 3-month non-conformance cycle, and then there's about a month in terms of what is called a certification decision a registrar makes. So best bet for companies, so they don't lose their certification, is make sure that your audit doesn't take any later than June. So you have June, July, August, and remember, it's September 3rd. Anyway, the date I will give in our webinar next week. But so keep that in mind. It's actually June 2018. Now let's fast forward to next year. So many people like AS9100 has a deadline of June. So past June 2017, all audits will be to the new AS9100D.
Wow, okay.
Automotive, by the way, IATF 16949, by the way, it's coming out October 1st. Let me be the first to let everyone know. And it's got a deadline that of October of 2017. So AS9100 June and automotive IATF 16949 has got an October deadline. By the way, I'm doing a webinar on that on October 7th. That will be, people interested should look at the Omnex website for that.
Okay.
And similar, talk to your registrar. There are deadlines for, your sector, yourself. Nobody wants everyone to go in the very end. We're all hoping companies start looking and start transitioning today. So
and Chad,
don't wait. Yeah.
Do you think that most companies are prepared for this transition at this point?
We're seeing a fair amount of activity at the training and the classes and the gap analysis we're doing. But really, I think a lot of people have not taken a serious look. It behooves everyone, folks, don't wait till the very end. Get trained, get your gap analysis out of the way, put your implementation plans together. We'll tell you a lot more about that next week. There's a lot of strategies they can think about there.
Well, Chad, in your opinion, let me jump in here because I wanted to ask you this. This is I think a key question is, what do you think is going to be the single biggest challenge for these companies when they make this transition?
This is across the board. Whether it's automotive or AS9100 or ISO 9001 2015 or ISO 14001 2015, the biggest challenge is going to really be how do you do context, interested party expectations, and the risk-based thinking. Let me lump it together because we think of it as one process at Omnex, as a business operating system process that we talk about and we teach. So I think that's going to be the biggest challenge.
Okay, and towards the end of your article, you get into ISO 14001 for a little bit, and you mention culture change within ISO 14001 and how that might be a big deal for companies. Can you just describe a little bit about 14001 and culture change and why this is a big deal?
Yes. Especially 14001, I'll say, there's also an ISO 9001 component, which we'll just ignore for now. In ISO 14001, Dirk, there's two things happening. They've added the word protecting the environment right to the EMS policy. So that requires us to maybe, enlarge what we think of as EMS put in our sustainability initiatives also together, maybe with social responsibility. That's point number one, is the larger scope that people need to adopt. Item number two, which is the biggest culture issue, is anytime we go work with companies, ISO 14001 sometimes is handled by one person. And really, it is not spread out throughout the company, the idea of environmental understanding. That is a change that the standard is looking for, people involvement across the board in the company. Third is the expanded leadership, where now top management is accountable. All three of this put together, I think, is going to be the culture change and really what, especially for environmental management systems, companies will have to tussle with.
Okay. Well, Chad Kymal, founder and CTO of Omnex, thanks for joining us this morning. And you can join Chad and myself in a webinar next week on this topic, everything Chad was just talking about and a whole bunch more. The webinar is Implementing ISO 9001:2015 and ISO 14001:2015. And that is this coming Thursday, that's October 6th. At 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. You're going to want to tune into that. So link out to his article down below, and there's links out to the registration page.
That's right.
Also, you should have gotten emails on that as well. So thanks, Chad, for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Dirk. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks,
Take
Chad.
care, guys.
Yep.
We'll see you next week. Thanks, Chad.